Now, look, I'm not going to be one of these dudes making like believe all chicks or whatever. Believe all chicks once a dude's finally rich and famous and he has money that you could win. I'm not being one of those. But there's a lot of bad stories out there about Pereira. I don't know if some of you know this. There's a lot of really bad stories out there about Pereira. I don't know if they're true. I'm not saying they're true. I still watch The Cosby Show. You know, I'm not one to speak on this. Everybody's been talking about whether or not Michelle Obama is a man. But maybe we should be talking about whether or not Ariel Helwani is a woman. And when I say that, I mean that with all respect to actual ladies. I don't mean to offend you by equating you to Ariel Helwani. But I'm just saying he had this interview with Josh Hokit, in which I believe he probably thought he was going to do some exposing of Josh Hokit, but I believe anybody that watched that interview knows who really got exposed there. And I think a lot of it was very hypocritical. And I don't think that we are appreciating the person that Josh Hokit is, the character. One of the first things that I noticed when I watched that interview, and you know my eyes are going to be immediately drawn to the headwear, I saw that he had on a hat that said, "Chop wood, carry water." And at first, I thought that was a lyric to a country song. But then I looked it up, and it had much deeper roots. And it has a lot to do with a lifestyle choice, with the way that you approach your day-to-day and your training and your priorities. And one of the things that I think we're not appreciating here, and Ariel Helwani should be on this same track. He's the dude that has been doing this for years, has been collecting awards. He should know what to look for in these fighters and what's admirable and what's embarrassing. And when I saw that phrase, when I saw this dude coming off the success that he's had lately, coming off events such as UFC Freedom 250, like, think about how other dudes would be acting if they were in the position of Josh Hokit right now. Dustin Gaethje said something that I thought was crazy. And I think it was when he was talking with Joe Rogan on the JRE podcast. He said something about, like, do you understand how Ilya would be acting right now if he won? Oh my gosh, bro. It would be insane. If Ilya had won that fight, nobody would ever hear the end of it. He would have been so smug. It would have been ridiculous. And by the way, I don't know what you're thinking, Gaethje, with everybody was on your side and really rooting for you, and it was kind of like a fairy tale kind of a situation. And then immediately he comes out, yeah, I think that maybe the UFC should make some new companies and make me the president and give me residuals. It's like, what happened, bro? What? Maybe Ilya does hit hard. Maybe it didn't look like it, but maybe he did hit Gaethje hard in the head. I don't, like, he's asking for like stuff that Conor McGregor got said no to. Like, it's ridiculous. Somebody needs to speak some sense into him. But anyway, we see Josh Hokit sitting there with the cap that says, "Chop wood, carry water." That's just exposing his mentality, his work ethic, his dedication to his craft, and his priorities when he gets up every morning. It's all about the work, working toward that ambition and laying those bricks one by one. And if we saw other guys in his position, if we saw somebody like Conor McGregor with a win, with a victory like Hokit had off UFC Freedom 250, he would be doing the interview from his yacht with some random yacht employee giving him a massage. If it was Armin Sarukian, we would see him doing it from a private jet with his dad giving him a massage. We would, or Nina Chama. If there was a number of different fighters, if it was Charles Oliveira, he would be doing it straight from the Gucci store as he's waiting in line. But you get Josh Hokit in his backyard with his chop wood, carry water hat on and his Macho Man Randy Savage shades on, just like a normal everyday type of dude. And he said, bro, I got 7 figures in 7 months. and he's just chilling back there like your homie. Like he ain't nothing different, ain't nothing new, like it hasn't got to his head. And what I think is very interesting, and I think it's kind of brilliant, I just coined it this morning. So I thought, you know what's fascinating to me? All these people that hate Josh Hokit and they're mad at him. And by the way, it worked. All of you people that hate Josh Hokit, you're like a fish. You're like an angry fish flopping around that got caught on the hook. And you're like, oh, snap. Oh, he got me. I hate this guy. Like, you're upset with him that you took the bait. Like, you don't understand kayfabe. Like, you don't understand that this dude... And look, I don't feel bad. I hate to expose kayfabe, but Hokit is so in control of what he's doing. I said it the other day on the stream. He's like the new Mick Foley. But, you know, he didn't flip and make all of us, you know, whatever. He's like the new Mick Foley, where he's like Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley. He could be whatever he wants to be. And he's already said what he's doing. And he doesn't care. At least he's not walking it back like Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, when he went after the Chamoya fight to the hospital to get some of his stuff healed, you know, a lot of people don't know this and they kind of swept it under the rug. Apparently, Strickland did take way more damage than Chamoyev did in the fight, because he had a bunch of stuff and broken this and that and separated that and that had to get addressed. A lot of people don't know this. When he was in the hospital, they actually had something surgically added to his lower pelvis so that when he backs up, it goes beep, 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 so that all his fans they had to do something to make it fair so that all his fans aren't just irredeemably manipulated every single time that fool opens his mouth. So they had to legally put something that goes beep, beep, just to give everybody a warning. But the homie, Josh Hokit, here's what I think is very interesting. Everybody that's mad at him, it's like they don't realize that they're mad at him because what he's doing works. And some people love him for it. Some people think he's the heel for it. And some people think that he's the savior of the UFC for it. But if you're mad at him, that's just saying that you're just admitting that he's good at what he does. And you're an angry little fish that took the bait and you're just dangling on the hook right now. And here's what I think is the most interesting part of it. This is the part I coined that I want you to be impressed with right now. Here is what's crazy about the whole thing. Hokit is, and again, I don't feel bad about exposing because he's already said it. And he's so in control of his craft that it's okay. He could weave in and out of it and it's all good. He's pretending to be the bad guy. Well, he's actually a good dude. And what you guys are hating him for, look. Hokit is pretending to be the bad guy while he's a good dude. While there's other fighters pretending to be good guys while they're actually bad dudes. And those guys you'll love. Those guys you'll be in love with. Now, look, I'm not going to be one of these dudes making like believe all chicks or whatever. Believe all chicks once a dude's finally rich and famous and he has money that you could win. I'm not being one of those. But there's a lot of bad stories out there about Pereira. I don't know if some of you know this. There's a lot of really bad stories out there about Pereira. I don't know if they're true. I'm not saying they're true. I still watch The Cosby Show. You know, I'm not one to speak on this. I was just listening to Bump and Grind. I'm not one to speak on this. I'm just putting the information out there for you, and you do what you will with it. We see people like Justin Poirier and the way that he conducts himself. And look, I'm not giving him a hard time because of the airport video. I've told you repeatedly, I've never liked Poirier. I've always thought that he was a bad, slimy dude that kind of puts out a front and doesn't seem like I've always said that. The video had no bearing on how I feel about him. I've always thought that he was a bad dude that put up a nice front. But Josh Hokit is a dude that's just riling people up, that's kind of having fun with it and playing the bad guy while he's actually a good dude. And you guys are over here hating it because, oh man, what a punk. Where does he get the nerve? Where does he get off coming into this promotion and making stuff exciting? Who does he think he is? We were over here months and months ago saying, I don't even want to watch the UFC anymore. This is boring. I hope they do start doing more stuff on Netflix. I hope Scott Coker does come back. I hope ONE figures out all their shenanigans and they could actually get their fighters to train. I hope the GFL comes back. I hope the PFL figures it out. I hope, because the UFC is getting boring. I don't even watch the UFC anymore. I only watch the Grandmaster's videos just because of, just because I love the dude. I don't even like UFC anymore. It's boring. Heavyweight division? Whew. It's crazy, man. What's more boring? Heavyweight or what's the one that they always almost get rid of? Bantamweight? And then he comes along, shakes it up, starts giving people something to talk about, and now they're upset about it. And Ariel, one of the things he brought up was the one of the preliminary press conferences, the one that Josh Hokit got kicked out of. And he was asking him if he regretted that and how it ended abruptly and he had to leave it. And I can't even believe that Ariel had the nerve to ask him something so ridiculous. Because I remember I can't remember what I was doing. I missed that press conference. I was doing something and I didn't get to see it. Not only when it aired, which I was very upset about, I didn't see it for several days. And I can't remember why. I was in the middle of something. I don't know. But I didn't see it for days. And all that I kept seeing in comment sections, in the chat, when I would stream on Reddit, all over the place, Twitter, all that I was hearing about was Hokit. Hokit, 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 Hokit. This is a dude that apparently was, we all know this now. He was escorted out of the press conference. He wasn't even there for the full thing. And he was the most talked about thing. He didn't even have to be there the whole time. And he was the most talked about part of that whole press conference. He was the only thing that everybody wanted to talk about. And you know what? Even back then, it didn't even have to be the one right before the event, which it also was, and it added to it. But even way back then, he essentially won 3 fights that night. And we would see this come to pass in the weeks to come. That night, as far as I'm confirmed, that very night, Josh Hokit won his fight against Curtis Blades. He won it against Ilia Tapoera. And he won it against Alex Pereira. Got in all these dudes' heads. All these dudes. He had Alex Pereira at home that night on translate.com trying to, what that fool say to me? Oh, he said what? Just eating away at him, bro. And he's over here like, chama lama ding. Doesn't this fool know that he's supposed to be scared of me? Doesn't this fool know that I have an aura? Doesn't he know that I win all my fights just by walking people down with aura and intimidation? He's supposed to be intimidated. Didn't he see me stand up? He did. I think everything was happening so fast in the adrenaline of the moment. Yeah. I think that's what it was. I don't think he saw me stand up. I don't think he saw me stand up, because if he saw me stand up, I think that would have changed everything, right? Because I got I got 2 inches on him. Or wait a minute, but Derek Lewis had inches on him, and weight on him, and reach on him, and knockouts. And I say it all the time. And I was very happy to hear Hokit talk about it with Ariel Helwani. He was talking about Pereira's resume. And I have it up right here. And those of you that are driving, landscaping, doing your laundry, don't look at the screen, because I'm not going to show it on the screen. I'm just looking at it myself. And while I scroll, here is where you can comment, like, subscribe, and all that, so that my channel doesn't die. But when you look at Pereira's resume, I've been telling people this. Look, I don't have a hatred or anger or anything like that toward Pereira. I don't. But I do have a strong annoyance of like the legend that's been built around him that I think is fake. And that whole audience of people in that fandom that have made him into some kind of comic book hero. It's obnoxious. And even if he had beat Gane, even if he found some way to beat Gane, he is far from the GOAT. far from the GOAT. He has had he's an opportunist. And I'm trying not to just regurgitate what Josh Hokit said, but I've been saying the same thing for a long time. He did come in at a good, opportune time for him with very favorable matchups. And you guys already know, I hate talking about favorable matchups. I hate talking about bad matchups and stylistic this and that. Hey, just be a better fighter, right? Be more well-rounded. I don't like to try to hold styles or matchups against anybody, because if you're a fighter, be a well-rounded fighter. Don't blame anything. But let's take a look at this real quick. So he came in, and he had a little bit of a rocky whatever. He came in and didn't have the most clean looking fights. And I remember since he barely came into the UFC, I made videos talking about how he fights like this. And like, what the heck? It looks like he's learning how to walk. It looks like there's something off with his equilibrium. What is going on? But then he kept winning, and it's like, well, what can you say? I mean, I guess we could pick at the matchups or whatever. But they look sloppy. He would get hit a lot. And he would always just win off of aura and intimidation, because he had this chiseled, crazy kind of stoic look and presence. So he was able, with a certain caliber of fighters, to walk them down with aura and intimidation. And he would take shots. He would eat those shots, and he would find ways to win. Until he got knocked out by Adesanya. So I want to point this out. And I always thought this, maybe it's not the most important thing, but it's something I always noticed. He TKO'd Adesanya. And there's a decent sized pocket of people that would cry that was early stoppage. And there's, you could pick and choose at different little moments to strengthen your argument. If I liked I heavily dislike Adesanya. He's one of my least favorite fighters of all time. I don't have that dislike and disdain for Pereira. But if I was a big Adesanya fan, I could find myself crying that maybe that was early stoppage. Well, when Adesanya knocked out Pereira, that was a knockout. That was a full-blown knockout. So he TKO'd Adesanya, which a lot of people cried early stoppage, but then he got full-blown knocked out. And then he won a split decision against Blachowicz, which a lot of people thought that Blachowicz won. Now, Blachowicz dominated Adesanya. Dominated him. Pereira barely eked by on a win that a lot of people thought that he shouldn't even have won. And then he beat Jiri, which now, I mean, come on now. I think we know what's that worth. What that's worth. The hindsight, I don't think we should really hold that in high esteem anymore, correct? After that, Jamal Hill, even worse. Even worse. I tell you guys all the time, you can't make fighters memes and make fun of them and treat them like a laughing stock, but then use them to build up the person that you like's resume. That doesn't work. And we know that that's what Jiri is now. And that's what Jamal Hill has always been. And then we got Jiri again. And then we got Khalil Roundtree, who kicked Pereira's butt for 2.5 rounds. And you can even see that on the scorecards. That's not just my opinion. I think a lot of people are implementing this revisionist history. Go back and watch the fight. Try to watch it on Fight Pass, because Paramount's kind of garbage. It's kind of hard to navigate the fights. But go back and watch the fight. Roundtree was kicking his butt. Even the biased commentators were like, oh, snap. This ain't going the way that it's supposed to. Roundtree's kicking his butt. And then Roundtree lost heart and abandoned the game plan. He should have beat Pereira. Then he loses to Ankalaev. He gets outclassed and beaten over 5 rounds to a decision. Then he wins with I know it's going to make me sound like a hater, but then he wins in the first round because he catches him. And we all know, see, here's where the bias comes in. We all know how we act and how we treat it when there's some kind of a flash knockout or when someone catches him. Oh, it wasn't fair. We got to run it back. We got to see it was a fluke. But when it's Pereira, he's just dominant, right? He got his butt kicked over 5 rounds, and then he catches him, and now he's a superhero again. And then he loses to Cyril Gane. I mean, come on, people. He was getting away with walking these people down when he was a middleweight with the aura and intimidation, and he could eat those shots. But then he got bigger. He went to light heavyweight, and he didn't look as good anymore. He didn't look as good when he fought these other people. And still, even if and when he beat them, look at the people that he beat. He doesn't have the resume that people thought that he had. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm trying to remember why I was even talking about Pereira's resume. Oh, yeah, because we were talking about the press conference. So at that press conference, he basically effectively beat Blades, Ilya, and Pereira all in one fell swoop. You're welcome, Gaethje. You're welcome, Serial Game. And Ariel asked him, do the execs ever say anything to you? Do they ever say, relax, slow it down? We're going to need an apology on that one. No, they do the same thing that they did with Conor McGregor. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. This is despicable display. This is terrible. He's probably in jail now with the Dolly incident, right? And then they go and use that as a promo. Dana White and whoever, Shane Gillis, what a punk. All these other people will say something on camera, on the mic. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's cringy. Yeah, I don't like it. It broke my heart to even hear DC and Joe Rogan say it. I can't stand when they do that. It's not cringy, by the way. How come it wasn't cringy when Chael did it? Huh? When Charles Sonnen was out there doing it, why wasn't it? Was it because he was more in your era and you feel like more of a like a equal, or like he's on your do you think this is like a Johnny Come Lately kind of? I mean, he's reinventing. Look at what he's doing. Did we see Charles dominate at the White House? But Ariel asked him, does anybody tell you anything in private? He says no. And I think that tells you everything that you need to know, because if Dana and all these people at TKO Endeavor, whatever, if any of these people really had a problem, they'd send him an email. They'd send him a text. They'd say, hey, we need you to come to the war room. Stop looking at that naked photo. Stop. Please stop. They would talk to him. They would have a sit down and they would try to figure this out. Nobody has said anything. That means it's a front. They're just trying to keep the people who are crying happy by saying, oh, I don't like that. But they don't say anything about it. Because they know, the UFC and Dana White knows what happens when they have even the most talented fighters, even with undefeated records, even with finishes, that they let them go. They cut them. They release them if they're boring. They know, just like Hokit said to Ariel, don't hate the player, hate the game. This is the game that Dana and the UFC have created. So Hokit goes, oh, I read the. It's like when you get a board. A lot of you don't even know what a board game is, huh? It's like when you would get an old game back in. They used to have these thing called board games that you would play when you were bored, because a lot of people they didn't have Netflix and stuff back then. So you would open up the box and there'd be all these pieces and stuff, and you'd have to read the rules to know how to play the game, to know what to. So that's what Hokit did when he came into this game of the UFC. He says, oh, you got to do this and that. You got to talk papas. You got to have a character. You got to be exciting. You got to say some crazy stuff. Okay. And he did. All he did was follow the guidelines that the UFC put forth. Okay. So he came in and Ariel was questioning him and interrogating him on, well, how far will you go with these things? Okay, if that's the game, how far will you go with it? And he got to a point where he said, you know, the one thing that you can't talk about is the Jews, which I think is hilarious, because now this is just my opinion. This is just I definitely haven't seen anyone else say this, but I don't know if it's out there somewhere. Now, there's an audience here that will just be like, yeah, he's speaking the truth. Like, yeah, because you can't go after that. Because, by the way, it was hilarious. And I just watched it again before I pressed record on this because I wanted to refresh my memory. You have to watch it. When Dana went on during some press conference and was responding to what Bryce Mitchell was saying about Hitler. And Dana had this paper, and he starts reading off like all the statistics, all the stats from like the Holocaust and the number of people that died and stuff. He was, and someone said this in the comments below, and it made me laugh. They said that he was reading those stats from the Holocaust as if he was reading like the numbers from the gate, and he 100% was. Like the cadence that he had in which he delivered it, he's reading it like, all right, so back in this month, we had this many Jews that died, and this many went to the chamber. And, like, it was just so matter of fact and weird, and the way that he was spacing it out, it was literally like he was giving the numbers that night from the gate, and he was literally reading it off of a script. And if you watch the video, you could even see once he was done reading those stats, then he took his actual stack from the actual fight. Like, now we're talking about MMA again. And then he put it on top of that other paper. Like he was done reading that part of the script. And then he put his other papers down now to actually talk about the fights. And I think that was both maybe because he had moved on and finished his script, and also to cover it. And maybe so people wouldn't see what was on it. And or so he could maybe quickly try to make people forget that he was literally reading off of a written script. Like, if nobody was good, like if we don't have rewind and stuff and pause and zoom in. So he was literally reading off a script that someone gave him. And I'm not saying that it was a Jew, I don't know, but someone gave him a script and was say this. So people do crazy stuff. They threw dollies through bus windows, glass shatters, people get hurt, they have to go to the hospital. And it's promo material, and it's all good. But then they say something about the Jews, and now he has to come out with a written statement, a script that he has to abide by, and pretend that he's like real disgusted. Like if he never tells any Jew jokes behind the scenes when the cameras are off, And so there's the group of people that were like focusing on that. And how there's always all these conspiracies with Jewish people and whatnot. And how Bryce Mitchell even had to come out and apologize and stuff. Here's what I think. Which I think is hilarious. I think that he was just messing with Ariel. And I think that he was coming at Ariel because Ariel's a Jew. And I thought that Ariel's this dude that's like always instigating and trying to stir stuff up and attack people and try to put them on the spot, make them feel uncomfortable and trying to do you regret this? Are you sure you don't regret it? I feel like you have a lot of stuff that you should be regretful for. And then he just comes at him with something that he knows that Ariel's going to be sensitive about, which he always is. And I thought that was hilarious. I just wanted to address that because that was a big part of the situation that I feel like a lot of people don't know in which way to go with. And then Ariel started picking at the armbar, which I was surprised and disturbed with how many people I saw coming after the armbar situation. When I saw that, it made me love the guy so much more. And I thought it was ridiculously funny. And what it reminded me of, what really put the cherry on top for me, was when he was laying down. I replayed it so many times. When he was laying down and he starts going, ah! I mean, this dude was like, his, lives are on the line when you get in there and they close that cage door. This is crazy. You could get CTE, broken bones, blood. You could die. And he's in there like it's playtime, like it's recess. And what it reminded me of is and I feel like this very well could have been what he was channeling, because you could tell this dude was a big lover of the WWF. It reminded me of when Ken Shamrock used to get people in that ankle lock, that ankle hook or whatever, and he'd go, ah! Do you guys remember when he would do that? He would get him in that lock, and he would do that all dramatic. He'd look around and go, ah! And that was like exactly what it felt like Hokit was channeling. He was having fun. This was like the big, scary dude everyone kept talking about, how he was just going to run over Josh Hokit, how he was the knockout leader, knockout king, and this dude is having playtime with them. He was cosplaying WWF in there with them. And even though I don't like him, even the likes of Adesanya and Mighty Mouse were saying he's obviously playing with them. He's having fun. This obviously ain't for real. And for those of you that don't know, Josh Hokit already has an armbar finish in MMA. For people that don't do their homework and don't have chanclas on the ground, he already has an armbar finish. He knows what to do. Even the way that he was describing to Ariel Helwani how Lewis was picking up his shoulder and giving himself some more extension. This guy knows what he's talking about. And then it came up again. Ariel was talking about, why did you do that? Why are you talking about Michelle Obama? Why are you calling her a man? And Hokit started off by saying, I was giving her a compliment. I'm saying, like, she's the man. Like, you know how it's a figure of speech and stuff like that. And how he loves to utilize that free speech. Because a lot of other places, most other places, maybe not at any other places these days, have that free speech. And, you know, unless, I mean, it would have been a lot different. I imagine it would have been a lot different if he would have said that, like, something like Hillary Clinton's a man. Like, and he even made a point to say to Ariel, hey, I'm not suicidal. I'm happy to be alive. I feel like it would have been much more relevant to say that if he had said something like that Hillary Clinton was a man, or maybe some other stuff that he could say about Hillary Clinton. But he was trying to point out how he thinks it's unfair. And, you know, I don't like to get too much into politics and this and that, but you know what's the funny thing? You know what I think is hilarious? I don't even have to talk about sides for you to know what I'm talking about. That's what I think is very poignant. I don't even have to say what side's which, and you know the answer. Hokit made a reference to the fact that, you know, there's double standards. And there's always one side that's poking and prodding and picking at the other side and making fun of them and making so much content around it and making everything in media about it and just blasting them and just being a bully and going on and on and on and just manipulating everything possible to go after one side, and it's woo good and everything's all good. But the moment the other side says something, how dare you, burn everything down, riots, you know? And again, I don't even have to say what side's which. I think the characterizations, they speak volumes. And he said something to the effect that he just had some fun with playing around with that, picking at it, saying, hey, this is stupid. Do with that what you will. He also mentioned how people like Cejudo and Strickland came out and said, I regret everything. I shouldn't have done that. I just do it to sell the fights. And even if Hokit does do it to sell the fights, because that's the guidelines that the UFC has put forth, he says, I'll never take it back. I'll never apologize for it. You need to hate the game because that's the game that's been created. And I love that. I cannot believe Hokit's basically everything that Sean Strickland wishes that he could be. But he can't. Hokit lives it out to the fullest. Strickland's a fraud. He's like a narc. He'll say everything. Strickland is like that one dude that will play the part with you to the fullest. But then as soon as the cops run up on you, beep, he's gone. He reminds me of that video I saw a while back where some old guy was like piecing up some teenagers at the lake. And then one of the teenagers' friends, he was on a jet ski. He just took off. He didn't want to be there. He didn't help or nothing. He's just out of there. He didn't want to be an accomplice. He's probably on probation or something. I don't know. But you have these other fighters that do what they have to do to sell the fights. And then, I'm sorry, guys. Just don't forget. I'm actually a good guy. I didn't mean it, man. Hokit says, chale, I don't care. I do this for me. I'm trying to take care of myself. And that's respectable. It's not wishy-washy. He's so hardcore about everything that he does. Another thing that he's championing that I've been wanting for years, he's talking about open weight classes. He's saying the real BMF should be a dude that goes cross divisions. We should have dudes, middleweights, light heavyweights, heavyweights. It's all the same thing if people don't cut weight. We should just go at it. Let's just like Grand Prix style. Let's just like old school UFC type. Let's see what happens. That's what I've been wanting. I said, that's real fighting. You don't have someone roll up on you at TJ Maxx and go, oh, wait, hold on. How much do you weigh? Oh, no. We can't do this. Do you have a friend? Do you have a friend that's more in line with my size? That's not how it works. He says, chale to cutting weight. Let's just do it old school style. And for those of you that didn't see the clip, that didn't hear it, I don't know if there were memes made of it. One of my favorite parts of the interview was that Ariel brought up Tomas Aspinall. And he said something about, what do you think of Aspinall? Do you want to fight him and stuff? And Hokit said, he said just like I'm playing a character, I think Aspinall might be playing a character. I think that maybe he's playing the role of a coward. the most hilarious take on the whole Aspinall thing that I've heard. Because everyone's clowning on him and turning on him. Even his most hardcore fans, it's like, bro, this is embarrassing. We need you to shape up a little bit. Like, you and Alex Pereira are starting like who's who? It's like, can you guys stop crying? Like, Alex Pereira and Tomas Aspinall are like starting like, whatchamacallit, like a support group. Like, it's too much. It's too much already. But I haven't heard that spin on it. He says, I think he's playing a character. I think he's playing, it's his character that's a coward because he's just trying to get out of the UFC, get into boxing so he can make that money. And just things along those lines. Talking papas about other fighters. Getting in their heads, making Ilian Pereira lose as well in addition to Blades. Talking about all this stuff, talking about, putting Ariel on the spot, saying it's you, Ariel, it's the Jews. I can't talk about you guys. That's why you could come at me unfettered and think you could do whatever you want, be all aggressive. I can't say nothing to you. They'll never give me my fight shorts. They'll never give me my print if I start talking like that. Dana White's going to come out with the script again. After all that, Ariel says, it's your talk. And I can't believe Ariel said this. He said, yeah, your talking has gotten you all the attention, right? Your talking has gotten you this far. It's gotten you to this point, right? And I remember I was like, I had to rewind it. And I was thinking, Ariel, you spent like 40 something minutes criticizing this dude and critiquing him and talking about how shouldn't he reel it back? Doesn't he feel bad? Is anyone trying to stop him? Doesn't he regret anything? What about potential sponsorships? Doesn't he care if people are upset about it? And then he says, well, it's your talking that's gotten you this far, right? The talking that's gotten you all this attention. Ariel, get it together. What are you talking about? Yes, it is the talking. It is the character. It's the charisma. It's the persona. It's the fact that this dude cares enough to rhyme. I've been saying that for weeks. Sean Strickland doesn't even care enough to rhyme, bro. He doesn't even rhyme. Josh Hokit was talking about 7 figures in 7 months. He got invited personally from the president to fight at the White House. Didn't just fight at the White House. He didn't just go and get the t-shirt. He could tell the grandkids, yeah, I was there. He won victoriously. And he beat the dude that he beat at his own game. And he made the knockout king with the most knockouts ever. He inverted his stuff. He inverted his whole stuff. And he made sure that dude was now also the dude that got knocked out the most in UFC history. A lot of people still don't know that. Derek Lewis now has a new record. Josh Hokit made history that night. Derek Lewis is now also the most knocked out dude in UFC history. Josh Hokit turned him into Tony Ferguson. Josh Hokit saved the UFC, he saved the heavyweight division, and he saved UFC Freedom 250. And a lot of people got mad when I said that the other day. They say, what? Did you see the Gaethje fight? And I'm saying, no. Nobody cared about the White House card before that. Everybody made fun of it. Everyone said it was stale. Everyone said it wasn't living up to hype that it was supposed to be before they released the lineup to us. Everybody was saying, oh, Netflix is going to be better. Everyone was saying, you guys should have done better. How is this going to be the best card? The fight week card's probably going to be better. This ain't what you guys built it. And then when they heard Hokit, they went, oh. They were saying O'Malley again? Really gonna keep shoving them down our throats? O'Malley and who? Zahib, not even Sanhagen, huh? Zahibi, O'Malley, okay. I feel like you're starting to push O'Malley down our throats as much as Diego Lopez. I'm sick. Wait, what? Oh, Diego Lopez is gonna be there too? No. Okay, Diego Lopez, and he's gonna fight. Okay, that guy's explosive. Okay, and then Gain? No way, bro. You're having Gain fight again? How many opportunities? Okay. Against Pereira? All right. I kind of don't think, it's a little fast. He getting a lot of weight real fast, right? Okay. Gaethje and Ilya? Oh, that's a foregone conclusion. He's probably going to win in the first 10 seconds, right? Okay, I don't care. And then you see the fight of Hokit with Blades and how that went and how dominant and destructive it was. And then we hear Hokit's at it and we go, whoa! Hulk is going to be on there. Oh, snap. That changed everything. And now I know it's easy after the fact to focus on Gaethje's victory, which I called, by the way. I know the way I relate it right now, it was kind of confusing, but I was referring to you guys. I called definitively, and I told you how and why the Gaethje was going to win, and I called it for Gain as well. And I called it for Hokit as well. You guys should be thankful that we have someone like Hokit in the UFC today. And you should stop being that angry little fish flopping around saying, oh, man, I took the bait. That's how talented he is. He has you right in the palm of his swollen hand. That's right. I just wanted to add that at the end to remind you that he had a swollen, injured hand when he beat Derek Lewis.